Hello, viewers. My name is Zach Hardy, and this is my review of USW Ultimate Consequence 2015. I will tell you, just looking back at the intensities that had been going on beforehand, um, and I know there are a lot of people that depend on my reviews in order to or my reviews of intensity in order to really find out what's going on for the pay-per-view, because I see it differently from a lot of people. So whereas they look at matches and what happens on there, I look at what goes down, and they know much more about the backstory going into the pay-per-views. So it's not just the people that either don't watch USW and love my stuff or like my stuff that want to recap but they don't want to watch USW, or the guys that do watch USW, but they don't see it in the same pace that I do, so they depend on me to give them the full core in-depth background of the matches going into the pay-per-view and what happens on Intensity and my thoughts on it. And yeah, but I'm going to give a small recap of I'll just read what happened on the July 15th or July 22nd editions of Intensity, since I was not able to review them. On July 15th, 2015, on Intensity, number 130, 2 weeks away from Ultimate Consequence 2015, Alexander Rotten walked down to the ring, told what happened in the last episode of Frosty. Yes, Alexander Rotten, the Frosty before, Alexander Rotten fought, Alexander Rotten faced Kevin Storm, and Kevin Storm beat him because of Lone Wolf. And the key parts of that were that feuds were started or continued, and all we really got was Dustin Raymond's challenge that really never happened. And then we got Gringo Fernandez and all that. And I mean, the intensities, I'm not going to give a full in-depth recap, I guess, but I mean, the intensities, on July 15th and July 22nd weren't bad by any standards. They weren't meeting the levels of the two, I believe, July 1st and June, I believe, June 23rd or 24th and July 1st, which were the intensities leading up. Which were the intensities leading up to Called Greatness. Outcast 2015. And then you had the July 15th, July 22nd in terms of intensity, which led up to Ultimate Consequence. They were they were by no means as good as the ones leading up to Outcast, but they weren't, bad at all. They were still, good intensities, and they did kind of do whatever they could to hype up whatever matches were left going into Ultimate Consequence 2015. And my full-on thoughts on the pay-per-view is that it was really just one of those pay-per-views meant to stop a rivalry, to start a new one with those performers. And of course, after this, we get Capital Carnage on August 30th. So you youngsters going to school, I wish you good luck. Is my microphone? Not my microphone, my camera. Of course, I'm borrowing my ally's computer or laptop to film these videos and live streams, whatever. But my thoughts on pay-per-view in general was it was really just one of those pay-per-views to end feuds and start new ones leading into Capital Carnage 2015, again on August 30th, 2015. So getting into the pay-per-view, we start out the show with the opening intro to the 8th annual Ultimate Consequence 2015 or Ultimate Consequence pay-per-view event. Marcus Felton and Kyle Reese Jr. start off the show by previewing the event's match cards. So Kyle Reese actually got on commentary for the night, and it was interesting. He's a great commentator. He was the commentator before Kyle Reese Sr. Was the commentator. Senior took Junior's place, and now we get Senior and Marcus Felton. But now we get Kyle Reese Jr. and Marcus Felton here tonight because Kyle Reese Sr. is out sick with an illness. So we may get Kyle Reese Jr. back again for Intensity this Wednesday. But anyway, Kyle Reese Jr. and Marcus Felton, always a great commentary team. To me, they're always like the Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler of intensity. But of course, we only have had Marcus Felton and Kyle Reese Jr. and Marcus Felton and Kyle Reese Sr. and Jr. and Marcus Felton were much better as a commentary team, and they proved that they were still a great commentary team tonight. So they previewed the match card, and we started off with the kickoff match, which was the hardcore match for the Extreme Championship. Crimson Red defended the Extreme Championship against TJ. Crimson Red, TJ, they would battle back with fists, and then they would hit each other with chairs, whatever. And they really used the hardcore stipulation, which was good because if they didn't use the hardcore stipulation, there was really no need to have a hardcore match instead of just a no disqualification match. If you're going to call it a hardcore match, you need to have some kind of hardcore things involved. So there was chairs. There was a chair with barbed wire around it. There were tacks spilled into the ring that actually nobody got thrown into, which a lot of people were upset about, and I kind of was too as a fan, but I can't really do much about it. But we did get fire. Sorry. It was to a point where the chairs were getting beat up, so they poured gasoline on them and lit them on fire. I don't know why, but then I guess they went back and forth and they realized, hey, let's have a flaming chair spot. So they set the chair up against, I think, the fireproof, of course, fireproof metal barricade. And I think it was Crimson Red that got thrown into it. And then Crimson Red's shirt was on fire, and they had to extinguish it out. And after all of that, TJ goes to the top rope, or gets thrown to the top, to the corner, goes against the corner, gets hit with a clothesline. Crimson Red climbs up to the top rope quickly, hits a spin dive on TJ out of nowhere, and earns the pinfall victory over TJ to retain the Extreme Championship. So Crimson Red is still your Extreme Champion. I have no problem with this. There is absolutely no problem here with that ending. The only thing I would have liked out of this was just to make sure that TJ is no longer in the Extreme Championship picture. The reasons why are because I just don't think the Extreme Championship or the Extreme Championship picture does anything meaningful for him. So there's no real reason for him to be in this predicament. But all in all, it was a good case of booking, and I'm going to give it 3 stars because that's what it deserves. Next portion of the card was very disappointing to me because this is the first, I don't know if this is the first time in a while that we got a double tag team match card booked or whatever, where 2 tag team matches were booked. This was the first of 2. Of course, it was Ezra and Kills and Manny Franklin versus Gringo and Fernandez for the USW Tag Team titles that we'll get to later. But here we had the #1 contenders match for the USW Tag Team Championships. The Martin Brothers versus the Indigo Reaction, and the Martin Brothers won. Afterwards, Alex Martin warns both Ezra and Kills, Benny Franklin, and Gringo and Fernandez that they're coming for the USW Tag Team Championships no matter what the cost is. So we're going to get Martin Brothers versus one of those teams at Capital Carnage. Let me tell you, this kind of made me groan because I was hoping this would be a good match. Because if that were the case and it were a good match, then we would be able to say, hey, we had 2 tag team matches, and both were pretty good. So let's try to do this again, so we would get more advancements in the tag team division. But sadly, this match did not go up to play. It was very slow throughout the entire match. The tags were inconsistent. There were, I think, 3 or 4 botches. I know Indigo Reaction, or I'm sorry, Indigo Child tried to go over the top rope and got caught up in the top rope, just went flying out of the ring. I think at another point, Alex Martin went for the unique win, but completely missed Indigo Child. And then I think it was just 3 botches, because then Indigo Reaction went to clothesline the Martin Brothers over the top rope, but the Martin Brothers got caught up in the top rope. So as Indigo Reaction were going over the top rope and to the floor, the Martin brothers were both on the top rope, still trying to fall backwards out of the ring. But I mean, it was just a clusterfuck, really, and it was a train wreck. And I'm going to think that, well, I think they're not going to do this again anytime soon. This was a 2-star worthy match, easily the weakest point of the card, the weakest match of the card, and no one can really fault me here. If you watch the pay-per-view, you would know that this match was disappointing. Unless you're a Martin Brothers fan or an Indigo Reaction fan, go ahead. You continue to like whoever performer you like. But to me, this was a disappointing match and easily the weakest point of the card. Moving on. Before that, I skipped this by accident. Ash cut a promo and debuted a new security guard gimmick. He is wearing a long-sleeve black shirt with a bulletproof vest, as well as black office pants and black combat boots. He tells Western Light that he plans on becoming the new worldwide champion tonight. So Ash has become, well, he has gone from a trunk wearing or trunk attire man to a man who wears trunks as his attire to a man with a security guard gimmick. So now at Outcast 2015, we had the biker versus the demon, and now we get the two polar opposites. At Ultimate Consequence, the biker and the guard, or the security guard or police officer, whatever. The guy who tends to not like the biker and the guy the biker tends to not like as well go face each other. And I think the only other way for this to have been any better is if Ash, instead of debuting the security guard gimmick, he debuted a gimmick where he drove a minivan and he lived in the suburbs with his family, because that would just drive people crazy. Or he was some guy who lived from a local town where he was in the city and the bikers were out in the countryside or the desert areas or the woodlands or whatever. I don't fucking know. But that's the only way I think that could have been any better. But anyway, it was a pointless promo anyway. But then we get into the next match. And before the match starts, Capital asks Kyle Reese if the match between Capital and himself could have a prize for the winner. And Reese agrees and makes the match a #1 Contenders match for the international title at Capital Carnage 2015. So here's what happened. The match was just supposed to be Capital versus Dwayne Porter. But then Capital made a stipulation. Kyle Reese agreed to it. And the reason why I was a little disappointed in this is because Kyle Reese was only there for the beginning of the match, as his brother, Martin Reese, came in to fill in for him. Martin Reese, I guess he hadn't made it to Ultimate Consequence 2015 yet, or he hadn't made it to the event yet, and so Kyle Reese had to get on air and fill in for him, and Martin Reese came in and filled in. But for the time being, of course, Kyle Reese and Martin Reese Kyle Reese and Marcus Felton were obviously doing amazing, and then Martin Reese stepped in, and commentary was all right. But Kyle Reese went back to the backstage, and Capital went to Kyle Reese, made there be a prize, and that prize was to become the #1 contender for the international title, Capital Carnage. So we get into the third match, which is the #1 contenders match for the international title. Excuse me. And Dwayne Porter beats Capital. Porter won with a roll-up for pinfall after Capital missed the Capital punishment. I'm not going to shit on this match. It was a match. I mean, it made very little sense after what was put into it. It was like, all right, so you have YoYo Joe and Cannon, good backstory. Zach Hardy and Majigata, good backstory. Alligator Rod and Lone Wolf, good backstory. Western Light Ash, all right, backstory. Ezra Hills and Benny Franklin versus Greenwell Hernandez, good backstory. Dwayne Porter versus Capital, why the fuck is this on the card? But even though it didn't really belong, it was a good time filler, and even though I didn't expect much out of the match, it was a 3-star worthy match. It was decent. Wasn't obviously like amazing, but it wasn't bad or not on point at all. So I must give props to Dwayne Porter and Capital for pulling off a good match. Then we get into Ash in his locker room being visited by Western Light after watching the match between Porter and Capital. Western Light takes the time to warn Ash that no matter what he does tonight, he's still going to be the World Heavyweight Champion. I have a complaint that I'm going to hopefully remember to talk about at the end of this pay-per-view, and it's something that USW really struggles with, especially in their promos and their vignettes and all of this shit. So remind me to talk about, well, if you can and you're in the comments, remind me, please, to talk about USW's excessive use of I will become the champion at the end of this, or constant use of mediocre, heard it millions of times before, cheap promos being cut by these performers. Even me sometimes. I'll admit that. But hopefully I'll remember. Next we get into the fourth match, which is for the Blue Belt Championship. Prophecy defends the title against Anarchy. I'll tell you, if I had to pick a number one match out of this entire card, the number one contenders would be Anarchy Prophecy and Western Light versus Ash. And if I had to pick, Anarchy versus Prophecy would be the best match on the card. I'm saying that in all seriousness. Prophecy and Anarchy just started trading fists. There were so many high-flying maneuvers by Prophecy, so many powerhouse maneuvers. You had Anarchy put him in, or put Prophecy from one of those, I guess, scoop slams, and tuck him under his arm and hit the sideball slam on him. And then you had Prophecy doing a head scissors, but then pulling himself up over Anarchy and hitting him with a roll-up pin. It all came down to an end when Prophecy attempted to lock in the limb lock. Anarchy reversed the move, threw Prophecy into the referee. The referee was knocked out. Then it was because Anarchy's head, or I'm sorry, Prophecy's head, I guess, collided with the referee. Anarchy then hit the chaos on Prophecy and retrieves a chair to beat Prophecy down with. So, of course, that's not good. Before the referee wakes up, Anarchy hits the chaos one more time, pinning Prophecy for the pinfall win. This turns, of course, Anarchy heel in the process. I mean, good for fucking you. I think that Anarchy should have been put into as a heel before the match. The crowd definitely does not like Anarchy now, I will tell you that. They were kind of leaning towards Prophecy because I think most of them knew, all right, so I think one of them is going to become a bad guy, and I think it's going to be Anarchy. So they were leaning more towards Prophecy, which then, when Anarchy became a bad guy and took the title away from Prophecy, who they support, he just became a absolute target of hatred. And it was just eyeballing to see the look of anger on the fans' faces as Anarchy was gloating with the Blue Belt title. So yes, Anarchy is your new Blue Belt champion. He is also a bad guy. He's a heel. So suck that up and learn to deal with it. I'm personally glad. I think it would have been better had they been a heel, or had they turned Anarchy heel beforehand. I think it made more of a story, though, letting them wait till Ultimate Consequence 2015. But I think it would have been more interesting to me had they turned Anarchy heel, or they started to tease the heel turn with Anarchy over the past few weeks. Although that would have made it a lot more obvious that he was going to turn heel. But either way, I don't care. It was a good match. It was 4-star worthy. My notes about this match: it was a good decision in the long run. It made sense with the crowd's opinion now on Anarchy. It was easily the best match on the card. Easily. And we jump into the next match, which is YoYo Joe versus Cannon. YoYo Joe, Cannon, once again, another slug fight, trading hands, or trading fists, trading kicks. At one point, YoYo Joe kicked Cannon in the grapefruits, and it was, of course, when the referee was not looking. And then Cannon would then kick Joe in the ass and then do the forearm cup to the grapefruits of YoYo Joe to add insult to injury after bouncing his head off of that metal ring on the ring post after taking off the padding. This all led into the finale, which was Cannon hitting combinations, bouncing off the ropes, and hitting a clothesline, bouncing off the ropes, hitting an uppercut, bouncing off the ropes, hitting a punch upwards to the jaw. And then Cannon went for a drop kick as Joe got up. Joe caught Cannon in the middle of the drop kick, caught his feet, pulled him up, excuse me, pulled him up, put him in one of those electric chair type positions, and then flipped him around, hitting the string effect on him. 1, 2, 3. Cannon loses again. Joe wins, leaves the ring immediately, and Cannon is pissed off, leans against the ropes, looking very upset, very disappointed in himself. He is just pissed off, leaves the ring like this, talking to himself, grinding his teeth together. It just proves how good of a character Cannon is and how great of a character Cannon can hold himself as. I don't know what this means in terms of YoYo Joe's future right now, as of course he has the broken nose that Cannon gave him, and Cannon right now, I don't know if this is signaling towards a heel turn or if this is signaling towards something more, or if this is turning into some kind of character change or character development. I don't understand what this is meaning for Cannon right now. It's kind of too early to tell or even make a guess, I'm sorry for the microphone, even make a guess about what this entails for Cannon's future. But I guess we're just going to have to wait and see over the next few weeks what happens. In my opinion, I think this feud is done. I think Cannon is realizing that he's no longer getting the job done in matches that he should be getting the job done in. Of course, losing to YoYo Joe twice now, there's no real reason to have a rubber match or a third match or a fourth match or a fifth match. I think he just kind of leaves it alone now. So I think Cannon's going to do something else. YoYo Joe's going to do something else. They're going to go their separate ways. I think that's one of the other times that or another one of those feuds that was stopped just to continue later on. Excuse me. I'll tell you at this point in time what feuds were stopped today, or at least in my opinion, what feuds I thought were stopped, and maybe that'll give you insight into what another feud could be. In my opinion, Crimson Red and TJ's feud is over. Dwayne Porter and Capital, I guess their feud, even though it's not a feud, is over. YoYo Joe and Cannon has their feud over. James and Seth may have their feud over. Alexander Rodden and Lone Wolf have their feud over. Western Light Nash have their feud over. And Zach Hardy versus Majigeta Zach Hardy and Majigeta have our feud over. So a lot of feuds have been ended, and there are some that will continue to stay, but those are the ones that really rack up the money right now. But anyway, the match was fine. It was 3-star worthy. The notes I have were just the match had many great spots, concluded with a very sensible ending. It made sense. YoYo Joe picking up the win, Cannon continuing to grow frustrated because he can't get the wins when he needs them most or when the wins matter the most. So I'm just hoping that from here on out, we get some sort of character development with Cannon, because Cannon right now is showing that he can hold a character even when he doesn't have a set character, when his character is not specifically this type of character. He's just a character that's wallowing in the pit of defeat, and if he wins, we don't know what goes on. Only Cannon can show what goes on. And I think even with now, Cannon showing that he doesn't have a set character right now. and he's working with whatever he has, and he's making it feel like as though it's a character. I feel as though Cannon can pull off anything, really. And he is one of those performers that can really pull off anything. He can come back from some sort of defeat or some sort of agony or some sort of problem that he's in and come back and make it right and come back and make it better and come back and improve everything and make everything great again. I'm just looking at something. I don't know. I guess I look back and back because my neck is killing me and because I don't really want to look at the light all that much. But anyway, yeah. So afterwards, Seth warns everyone that the demon has come amongst him. He's going into the event, Ultimate Consequence, to release the demon from his periodical rest. I guess that periodical rest is every pay-per-view event, maybe? Or every intensity, I don't know. I guess it could be a weekly rest, or a monthly rest, or a yearly rest, I don't know. But he's coming out from his periodical rest, and we go into the 6th match, which is the second tag team match on the card for the USW Tag Team Championships. Ezra and Kills and Benny Franklin, of course, defeat Gringo and Fernandez. Afterwards, Hills and Franklin walk up the ramp while taunting Gringo and Fernandez with the tag team title belts, and that's it. Not much else. I mean, the match, I don't really want to talk too much about it because there's nothing much to talk about. I mean, my notes really say it all. It's a 3-star worthy match. It was a very good match. The match should have led into a feud, though. I mean, I don't shame USW upon this because I know they wouldn't have thought, oh, the Martin Brothers and Indigo Reaction are going to have an awful match, and the tag team title match is going to be something that should set up a feud. So now they kind of put themselves in a corner, and they kind of have to escape that corner. So I can't really blame USW because they can't, or the talent booking, whatever, because they can't see into the future. But I think this match should have led into a feud between Hills and Franklin and Gringo Fernandez. And we don't usually get feuds with the tag team division all that much anymore. I think the last feud that we really got was I guess maybe the Martin Brothers versus Ezra and Hills and Benny Franklin, and before that it was Hills and Franklin versus Indigo Reaction going into Code Greatness 10. So we don't get too many feuds in the tag team division as much as it is, all right, we beat you, so who's our next opponent? All right, we beat you. Next opponent, we beat you. Next opponent, oh, we faced you before. Oh, we beat you again. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Long story short, it should have led into a feud, and we shouldn't have to have Martin Brothers versus Ezra and Kills, and Franklin at Capital Carnage. And then what does this mean for Gringo and Fernandez as well as Indigo Reaction? Are they going to have another feud? I don't know. We'll find out later. 7th match on the card. James beats Seth via countout. Ending pretty simple. Seth chases after James on the outside, leading to James running Seth into the ring post. Cheaply running back into the ring, winning the match via countout due to Seth not getting back in the ring fast enough. So we've just pretty much given the demon his periodical release just to run into a metal post and not get back in the ring by a count of 10. James gets a cheap win. I'm not sure if this is leading up into some sort of heel turn. I doubt it is. This is just stupid, really. I don't like this. The match itself, 3-star worthy. The ending, of course, did not serve the build up to this match very well, but the match itself was very good. That's that. Nothing much else to say. I like the demon character of Seth, and I'm hoping James gets some kind of character as well. Sorry. He doesn't really need a character, but I think he would do a lot better with a character. Next up, we have myself, Zach Hardy, backstage getting ready for a match against Machigeta. That's it. Then we get to the 8th match, which was very confusing at the moment for me because I was thinking, all right, so we're going to get this match as a main event. No. Here comes a knockout match for the USW Championship. Alexander Rodden defends the title against Lone Wolf. Alexander Rodden beats Lone Wolf. Locked in the rot after Lone Wolf goes for a clothesline. Rodden throws Lone Wolf into the ring post a few more times before hitting a body slam on Lone Wolf. A few body splashes, locking him in the rod again. A few more seconds, throwing Lone Wolf to the mat, leading to Lone Wolf being counted down and giving Alexander Rodden the win to retain the USW Championship. I think this is the first time since Top Rope 2014, which was September of 2014, or maybe the 29 Gauntlet match from this year in 2015. Either way, the last time we had the USW title not in the main event was either in February 2015 or September of 2014. This time, the USW title match is before the world title match, the international title match, and another regular match. Or in a match without anything on the line. It's not a regular match. But anyway, Alexander Rodden gets the win over Lone Wolf. It was a competitive match. Alexander Rodden, of course, threw his weight around. Lone Wolf battled back with his agility, and it was just a very good match. Rating, 3 stars. Notes, the match was very good. Just came across like there was something missing, that something was out of place. I was very surprised to find out that this was not the main event of the night, as everybody else would be if that were the case. Everybody, I knew a lot of people who actually I was watching the pay-per-view alongside with were like, this isn't the main event? Zach, you still got your match, right? Xavier, you still got your match, right? Why the fuck is this match on right now? Later we go on to find out the World Heavyweight title and the international title matches were the big blockbuster moneymaker match of the night. So of course, this, having the USW title not be the main event match of the night, I think gives opportunity for a better match and to build up championships and feuds easier. Because if you having a match in a feud like Zach Hardy versus, let's say Zach Hardy versus Capital, we have a match, 8th match on the card out of 10 matches. That's cool. Build up the feud in any way. But it means more for the feud and for the performers when that match is the main event. And it's not for the USW title. It's not for the world title. It's not for the international title. Any title. It's just a feud. And I think that's interesting, not having the USW title in the main event. It was kind of weird. And I know it felt like Lone Wolf was out of place in this match because he doesn't really belong in the USW title picture. He's more of a USW World Heavyweight title kind of guy. But it was just really weird seeing the rest of the matches and then the main event of this card, of this pay-per-view, not have the USW title on the line. It was weird to me. But, I mean, it made the world title and the international title match feel even more special. I mean, it did. I'm not going to say it didn't. Let me fix my... Let me just fix my notes here. But of course, as I said, alright, so this leads into the 9th match, which was the weapons match between Majigeta and Zach Hardy. Majigeta beat Zach Hardy. I'm glad for that. I did not want to win. I thought if I lost, it'd tell much more of a story, and I'm glad that's the way they went with things. And then the ending, I hit the Hardy Egg Jaw on Majigeta. I will refer to myself in third person. Zach Hardy hit the Hardy Egg Jaw on Majigeta before the lights cut off. Double XL appeared, hit a choke slam on me, or hit a choke slam on Zach Hardy, then hit the above ground on Zach Hardy before putting Majigeta on top of Hardy and giving Majigeta the pinfall win. So Double XL screws me out of a win. Zach Hardy versus Double XL from now on. And now what are we going to do with Majigeta? I don't fucking know. I mean, I'm not going to say it was a bad ending, but it didn't really make all that much sense. Why pair the... And I know this may sound very egotistical and very airheaded, but it's kind of true the way you look at it. If you look at my perspective, why would you have your top performer face a performer that lost to TJ for the Extreme Championship more than, or 3 or more times, then lost to Capital? I don't see how that makes any sense. Top guy all the way over here, or Zach Hardia's over here, Double XL's over here. I'm not going to complain, I guess. That's all I had really to rant about. Rating, 3 stars. The ending started the feud, the ending that it deserved. Zach Hardy will not focus on Double X, or will now focus on Double XL, and Majighetto will probably go back to doing nothing. So, okay. Okay then. Interesting. Whatever. So, 3 stars. Cool. I just fucked up. Anyway, we go into the main event. The moneymaker of the card. The Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus the Manny Pacquiao build-up match. Main event, World Heavyweight Championship and International Championship match. Western Light versus Ash. Match was great. I will give you my notes right now. 4-star worthy match. The ending was not good at all, but the match itself was one of the best pay-per-view matches I have seen in wrestling, period. Or I have seen wrestling in recent past, period. Not just USW, but even WWE and TNA, I guess, and WCW, whatever. Excuse me, WCW is not recent. But anyway, here's how it went. Western Light and Ash were just beating the hell out of each other, going back and forth. Western Light hit the lantern 3 times. Ash hit I believe it was the Chaos, or it was the 2 Dust, I think 4 times, before Western Light hit the lantern. Excuse me. Fuck. In my notes, I wrote Lone Wolf instead of Ash. I apologize. Hold on. Hit the lantern before Ash toppled back over onto his feet and elbowed the referee in the face, causing the referee to call a disqualification on Ash. But the championships do not change hands via disqualification. Ash is still the international champion. Western Light is still the world heavyweight champion. To end the show, Western Light walks around the crowd holding up the world heavyweight title belt. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry. Excuse me. This Western Light versus Ash was just like Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather, except the match itself was great. The build-up was obviously the match of the century. Well, not the match of the century for Western Light and Ash, but it was obviously built up as the best match and the biggest moneymaker on that card. And both matches had a shitty ending, shitty decision, except Floyd Mayweather Jr. versus Manny Pacquiao had an awful, awful bout. And Ash and Western Light had a good bout for what it was worth. But you end the show by pussying out of your decision to have this blockbuster match where, Western Light could be the world heavyweight title, world heavyweight champion, international champion, or Ash could be the world heavyweight champion, international champion. But no, you call count out, and neither gets to lose their titles. Why? What kind of sense does that make? What does that make? You have this blockbuster match where everybody's thinking, one of them is going to become 2 champions. And for the first time in history, there's going to be somebody who has 2 titles. Everybody settle down. We need to watch this match. Oh, wow, such a great match. Oh, Lantern! Western Light! What the fuck? How did you do that? What the fuck? Don't elbow the... You didn't. Did the referee just fucking call for the bell? What the fuck? Alright, let's hear. Alright. Simon has something to say. Here's your winner by disqualification. Western Light, okay. So it was Western Light. Alright. However, the titles do not change hands. Ah, fuck me. Alright, still heavyweight champion, Western Light, alright. That's still international champion, fucking Ash. Why? What the hell? But you know what? I will do the same thing that I always do for my reviews, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is scheduled for one fall, and it is for both the International Championship and the World Heavyweight Championship. Introducing first, from Boston, Massachusetts, weighing in at 200 pounds, he is the current reigning, defending, undisputed international champion, Ash. And his opponent, from Corpus Christi, Texas, weighing in at 245 pounds, he is the current reigning, defending, undisputed USW Heavyweight Wrestling Champion of the World, Western Light. And then here's your ending. Ladies and gentlemen, the referee has called a disqualification on Ash. Therefore, your winner via disqualification, Western Light. However, since championships cannot change hands via disqualification or via countout in any situation, Western Light is still your World Heavyweight Champion, and Ash is still your International Champion. Anyway, it was a good match. My thoughts on the pay-per-view alone, pay-per-view rating 3 stars. Notes, the matches are worth another look, but all they really did were end feuds to start new ones. The only feuds that really continued or have a chance of continuing are James vs. Seth, Anarchy vs. Prophecy, and that's it. So, obviously didn't do the best with keeping feuds, and I wouldn't really blame it, because you want to have something new and refreshing that you get for or you get for Capital Carnage that you didn't really get, or that you got something else at Ultimate Consequence that was almost equally as better or equally as good, or something that was just as good, or anything like that. I just think it would have been better had USW stuck to their plans and picked one or the other to walk away with both titles. That's the only way that it would have been great. However, I'm hearing rumors that they want a main event for Capital Carnage between myself and Western Light, myself and Alexander Rodden, Western Light and Majigeta, Western Light and Cannon, Alexander Rodden and Majigeta, Alexander Rodden Capital, Alexander Rodden and Cannon, and Western Light and Capital. So they're trying to shift a bunch of feuds into each other, and therefore create new matches. Personally, I don't, and I'll tell you right now, I don't want the world title. I don't want the USW title. I don't. I've had the USW title 5 times. I've had the blue belt title once. I am a Hall of Famer in WOW. I held the WOW World Heavyweight title 3 times, the Extreme title in WOW 23 times. I'm perfectly fine not winning another championship in my career. I'm perfectly fine with that. If you don't pick me, don't worry. I'm not going to be upset. So any of you watching who think, oh, you really want them to pick you, don't you? I don't, because I don't want the title. I want somebody else to have it. I want somebody else to enjoy it. I want somebody else to bring more meaning to it. I think my 5 reigns are good enough. If you want to put the title back on me, fine. I guess I'll allow that. I mean, I really have no choice. But I think it should go to somebody else. Possibly Majigeta, possibly Canon with this new character. Well, if Canon's going to have a character that gets aggravated, it has a character that, in this case, he can't pull off a big win when it's needed, then don't give him the title. So I don't see Canon getting that title if that's the case. The only contenders I see are Capital, but it wouldn't make much sense since he did lose to Dwayne Porter here for the international title, #1 contender spot. Majigeta, I can see that. He's not doing anything now. And myself, I guess I'm going to feud with Double XL. All right, so what you pretty much had was a decent pay-per-view. Was not nearly as good as Outcast 2015, but it was definitely a good pay-per-view, and it did set up, to an extent, it set up Capital Carnage 2015 pretty well. So, there are my thoughts on that. And one quick thing that before I go, I wanted to talk to voice a complaint that I had out with USW, or that has in USW. When you're having your performers cut an interview or cut a promo backstage, stop having them say, I will beat you this Sunday, or I will beat you in 2 weeks, or I will be the World Heavyweight Champion, or I will not leave without that title. Because it's getting old and it's getting stale that Ash says, oh, I'm going to leave. I'm not leaving without the world title. Westmoreland says, I'm not leaving without the world title. Alexander Rotten says, I am not leaving without USW title. Anarchy says, I am not leaving without the blue belt title. Crimson Red says, I'm not leaving without the Extreme title. Ezra Hills and Mighty Franklin both say, I'm not leaving without the tag team titles. And then their opponents say the same exact things, and it gets old. So instead, bring up new points and make sure your performers know that, because it's getting really aggravating having to go back and forth listening to everybody cut a promo saying, oh, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to become the champion, or I'm going to make sure that you do not win this Sunday, or I will walk out the champion. I have done that once in my career, my illustrious almost 8-year career. Once. One time. And that was against Canon going into Final Chapter 2013. Once. And at that point in time, I had been wrestling for, I think, almost 6 years, maybe? Almost 6 years. So, 6 years before that, or less than 6 years before that, I don't recall something like that at all, really. So, I've only done that once, at least to my knowledge. So, anyway, that's my complaint. I'm voicing my opinion out on that. So, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Remember, and this pay-per-view review may not get a thumbnail, and that's because my thumbnails were lost with my hard drive when it had to be shipped out to get replaced. So, letting you know, probably not going to have thumbnails for a while until I get them back. So, thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. This was my review on USW Ultimate Consequence 2015. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, favorite, and subscribe for more. I'm Zach Hardy, signing off.